Hi everyone, so welcome to lesson 2 of our 6th class makeup course, and today we're going to be covering foundation, choosing the shades, the textures, how to decipher which one is for you, and also under eye concealer and camouflage concealer. So the base for me is the most important step of all, because I feel like if you get the base right, everything else will come together. If the base is wrong, then everything else looks wrong. You could have a fab eye makeup, but if the base isn't right, then nothing else will look right with it. So I do have notes again today that I'm going to be working from, and I have answered the questions that were sent to me in the post below. But also I want to just say to you, definitely, if you can, either print out or definitely save the PDF that's going to come with this lesson, because I know inevitably while I'm chatting here, some things are going to slip my mind that when I am doing the PDF, I will remember, and I just think they're really handy to have to look back on. So like I said, I do have my notes just to jog my memory, so forgive me if I'm looking up and down a little bit. But let's get started into foundation. So foundation shades probably are one of the biggest bugbears I think women have with makeup, how to choose the right shade for you. And I can tell you that after 20 years in the industry, and as someone who is developing their own foundation at the moment, it can still be really difficult, even when you know lots about the shades and you know your own skin tone and things like that really well. Like I pride myself in the fact that a lot of the time I can look at someone and I can tell straight away what shade they'll be, but it's really difficult in the shop to pick out one for yourself if you're not really kind of versed in it and really educated in it, because the lights are terrible. For one, you need to have daylight, and they're always really yellowy warm lights in there that don't transfer the same outside. So you need to be really educated going in, and this is something again for me, I always want to try and really educate you before you go and buy your foundation, because it's an expensive investment, and I think if you get it right, you will stay loyal to that foundation for a long time. And if you get it wrong, you're going to get it wrong a few times, and it can just end up being really costly, and people lose their patience then. So one of the biggest things I find with foundation, first off, is that probably 90% of people wear the wrong shade for them. So they try with foundation to warm the face, to cover everything, to do all the work with foundation. But foundation's only job is basically to even out the skin tone. So to give you a blank screen to then bring in light and shade with your concealers and your bronzers, etc. So it's the one thing that I kind of always try and really drive home, is that remember that you're only evening out the skin tone with your foundation. You're doing nothing else with it. And also remember that your skin changes color year round. So in the depths of winter, if you're not a tan wearer, you might be very pale in the winter. But then when the sun comes out in spring and summer, you might warm up a little bit, and you know, your one foundation isn't going to suit all the times of the year. Also, if you're a tan wearer, you will change inevitably throughout the week. So like me, probably if you're a tan wearer, you probably do it once a week or so. And so if you're a few days a week, you're quite brown, and then you're going to turn it back to your paler self before you apply again. So I would always say, if you're an avid tan wearer, you're going to need 2 foundations. You're going to need 2 shades, but inevitably everyone is going to need 2 shades, because you're going to need one for winter and one for summer. And also I think that it's nice to change the consistency of what you wear from winter to summer. So in the colder weather, I would tend to wear something that might be a little heavier, something more coverage. You know, you can get away with things like that in the cold weather. When it's very hot, you don't want to be wearing something that feels caked on your face. You want something light and it's going to make your skin look super healthy. Plus in the summertime, the light is so much brighter that sometimes you just don't get away with a natural finish on a heavier foundation. It just looks too caked in the really bright light. You might notice that sometimes when you go on holidays, that the foundation that you're wearing here mightn't look as good when you're away in a hot country. So those things we don't think about, but they are all factors as to how the foundation is going to look on your face. So this is going to be a long video, I won't lie. We're already 5 minutes in and haven't even gotten started talking about the actual foundations yet. So maybe you want to get a cup of tea, press pause and get a cup of tea, and then really settle in. But let's start with foundation tones. So with tones of foundations, you might hear people talking about warm tones, cool tones, and neutral tones, or pink tones, yellow tones, and neutral tones. So what that means is that we are going to choose the tone to suit our skin, like what we're trying to do with our skin. Most of us, I would say, suffer with a little bit of redness in the skin at some point or another. You might have a little redness around the nose and the chin or the cheeks or wherever it is. When you have redness like that, you want to have a yellow based foundation to counteract the red. So one really important thing to remember is yellow counteracts red and pink and peach counteract blue tones. So this is why we use a different product for our face and to our eyes as well. So different shades to do different things, because around your eyes tend to be either a deep purple or blue or that type of shade when we're tired, and it kind of looks a little bit bruised at times. And actually sometimes that is bruising, because some people are just really prone to really sensitivity around here, really sensitive eyes, sorry, and when they blink it can cause bruising underneath the eye, which then obviously makes the dark circles worse. So the shades that you're using do different things. So remember, yellow counteracts red and pink counteracts the blue and the greyish tones around the eyes, and pink and peach. So that's where we're going with our first thing first is, well, okay, I'm just going to be plain about it. I don't like pink toned foundations. I just don't. I don't like them on anybody. I think that they always look chalky out in the daylight. I think when you go outside, you will, if someone's super pale and they try and warm the face with a pink tone foundation, you just see this chalky pink effect on the skin. When it's yellow undertoned or neutral, it's just going to be cool. So it's going to run straight into your paler neckline. Or if you've got tan on, most tans do suit a yellow undertone foundation, not really pink ones, unless there's a red undertone in that false tan that you're wearing. But I just feel like pink always looks false. I just don't think it suits the skin as an overall base. I would always stick to neutral or yellow. So how do we decipher which is which? Because unfortunately it's not as simple as going warm and cool, because some products or some brands have C as their yellow undertone and some have C as their warm undertone. So that makes your job a little bit harder. So if you're totally unsure, I would first off always do samples. Never ever buy a foundation without getting a sample or testing it. What I would do sometimes, if you don't want to put it on your face, I wouldn't personally put testers from shops on my face. You know, if you have to take them out of a bottle there, if you're at a counter where you can get a sample, better. But if you're unsure of the tone, put, say, the W and the C of that brand side by side in your hand, and then go walk around the shop and let them both dry. You will very, very, very clearly see when they're dry if one has a pink undertone and one has a yellow, because one will look pink. And you'll see that chalky pink that's on it. For your own sake, in MAC, C is the yellow undertone. If you have NC or C, it's the yellow undertone, and W and NW are the pinks. In Estee Lauder, it's the other way around. The W's are the yellow undertones, and the oh my god, I'm not losing my, which is the other ones? The N's are obviously the neutral, and then you've got, oh sorry, the C. Again, the C is the pink for Estee Lauder. I'm trying to think of other ones that I have that have the N's and C's on them. L'Oreal do it as well. That C is the pink and N is the neutral. And oh my god, my mind keeps going. Oh, the W is the yellow. I've probably confused you totally, so I'm going to leave a list of this in the PDF as well. But once you see it on your hand, it becomes very evident. You just need to give it about 30 seconds to a minute to set and to oxidize, and then you're going to see it. Because again, if you don't do that and don't give it the time, you might look at it initially and go, oh yeah, that'll be lovely. And then 10 minutes later, you look at your hand and you're like, oh my God, that looks red. And that's because the air has mixed with it and it's become a different color. It's often why when you put your makeup on in the morning and you set it and you powder and you put your blush on, by the time you get to the car and you take down the sun visor, you're a totally different color, because once the foundation has time to set and settle onto the face, it changes color as it sets. And this is why when you see me do the videos, I always do my foundation, my concealer, and then I'll move on to my eyes and brows, and then I'll finish my blush and bronze and radiance cream and set it, because I wanted the foundation to do everything it's going to do before we go in with any other colors, so that we know exactly what we're dealing with. And I will always try and do my makeup in natural light. So today in this video, I have a window in front of me and it's morning time, so I have natural light sitting on me so I can see exactly how it's going to look outside. Because it's something I always say to people, if you look good in natural light, you're going to look good anywhere. But if you do your makeup in a yellow light of a bathroom, or you don't have good lighting where you can do your makeup, it's very difficult to get a really good finish on it. And you don't have to spend a fortune on lighting either. Amazon do these deadly plug-in ones, which again, I'll leave a link in the box for it, that you can stick onto your mirror. They cost about €15, you plug it in and you've got 5K to 6K lighting, which mimics daylight. It's what I use when I do use my lighting in here as well. I have studio lighting that when I don't have the right light outside, gives me the proper light so that you can see everything that's going on. So the lighting is super, super important. But when it comes to tones, it's the one biggest thing. And if you can get your head around the tones, choosing foundations becomes so much better and so much easier. So again, my personal preference would always be to stick with neutral and the yellow undertones. If anyone comes near you with the pink one, just say no. I actually had a friend a couple of years back who she wanted to try the MAC Face and Body, and she's super pale, so I did see one on her and she loved it. Sorry, so I did it all over her face when she was with me, and then she was going to go and buy it, but when she went into the shop assistant, the sales assistant convinced her to go with N1. And I had said to her, don't let her talk you into it, but she got talked into the N1, and I was like, no, come over to me again and I'm going to show you the difference. So we did one side of her face in N1 and one side in C1. And she immediately was like, oh my God, I can totally see it. Because this side with the N had a pinkish hue that did not sit into her neckline. And then the part with the C just cooled everything down and completely blended into her jawline, into her neck. And I was saying, this is where like, there's just a lack of education sometimes on some counters where they don't know, or they're so fixated on Instagram makeup, and it's not what everyone wants. Like, not everyone wants to look like a completely different person, or like they have really heavy makeup on. If that's the look you want to go for, by all means do it. But if you're looking for a more natural, a more skin enhancing, a more you enhancing type makeup, then you want to go with something that's going to blend naturally, something you can fire on in the morning basically, and not have to spend too much time faffing about with, you know. Okay, so I'm getting sidetracked, always do. When it comes to foundations and choosing the right foundation for yourself as well, I will always spend a little on foundation. So it is something I always say to people, you can save on certain things, but you do need to spend on others, because remember, foundation is like an extension of your skincare. If you put on a foundation that's badly made and hasn't got a good formula, it's going to cause your skin to react. It could dry it out. It's going to block pores. It's not going to sit well on your skin. And it can cause a host of different issues and problems if you don't, you know, get one that's good and that'll sit properly on your skin. I always say to women with teenage daughters, when they're starting to wear makeup, help them along to get a Rimmel foundation or a BB cream from a reputable brand. Like, no, I don't want to say it like that, no, that was the wrong word to use, but like personally, I wouldn't let them wear any of the PS foundations from Pennies, or ones that are super cheap, because their skin is already reactive at that age, and if you start to wear products that will block the skin, it's going to make any sort of acne or any reactions in their skin worse. So we don't want that to happen. We want to try and keep it treated and keep it in good condition. Doesn't mean you have to go buying MAC or Smashbox or any of those type. You just need to get something that's in the middle ground, that's not going to aggravate their skin. So for yourself as well, I would do that. I just don't feel anyway a lot of really, really cheap brands or affordable brands, when they come to makeup or foundation, I don't think they last if they're not really well made. Like, there's a reason that certain products cost more. Now, I know you're paying for marketing in some brands to a certain extent, but they've got formulas that work, and they've got formulas that have been tested and that can last the day. And when you're getting older, you just have to look after the skin a little bit more. So you can't get away with really kind of cheaply made products, basically, you know. So if you want something light, I'm going to go through a few foundations that I personally like and I think that are really nice. If you want something light that's just going to enhance your skin, that looks like your skin but the best version, you're going to want to go with something that's super light consistency, like MAC Face and Body. This is a water-based foundation and it goes on like your own skin. So anytime I wear this, people always say, God, your skin looks great, rather than your makeup looks great. For me, that's the biggest compliment, because then it means that you've done a really good job, because you look really natural, but you look really well. And this is probably the most popular bridal foundation there is because of that, because of the fact that it just makes your skin look like the best version of itself. It'll suit all skin types, it'll suit all ages, and it's buildable as well. So if you do want to use it for a night out, but you still want the light coverage, you can go with this. When you're building it, you're going to pop it around the face and then just build it in the areas you need it. So say if it's the cheeks and the nose, just in that area, not everywhere, because you don't need it everywhere. Just build in the areas that you want it. Another one that I just think is beautiful, and I bought some more of it yesterday, and I bought a few different types of this particular brand's foundation. It's really dirty on the top, but it's the Kevin Aquan, and it's an Etherlist Skin Illuminating Foundation. And this stuff it doesn't look like you're wearing foundation at all, but your makeup or your face looks completely flawless and your skin looks so healthy and beautiful. It is €51, so it's pricey, but it is so worth it, I think. I think if your skin is that little bit dehydrated or lacking that bit of shine, it just makes it look so gorgeous, and it's perfect for anyone sort of 30 plus, I think, who has, you know, just a few little issues, say with discoloration or redness in the face. If you've got breakouts and stuff, it's lovely just to cancel out the colour, and then you can go in with a concealer over it to get rid of any lumps and bumps. But I just think that is fab for a really light, really natural makeup. Another one actually, which I've been trying wearing lately, is the Dior Face and Body. Again, much like MAC Face and Body, super light, super lightweight. It's going to make your skin look like skin, but the best version of itself. Anyone 30 plus, again, absolutely gorgeous on. Obviously it's perfect if you're younger than that. If you're not looking for too much coverage, but you just want to make the skin look really, really nice. For more coverage, my all-time favorite, and one I always go back to, it's my fail-safe one, is the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I wear the shade 2W1, which is Dawn, and I just love it. I think that it's what I'm wearing today, but I think that it's, you'll see me applying this later on in the video, but I just think that it is so beautiful, and people are afraid of Estee Lauder Double Wear sometimes because they feel it's going to be too heavy, but it's not. If you just use a small amount and really buff it into the skin, you get a lovely coverage that will last and won't look caked on your face. So this is one of my big favorites for a kind of a longer lasting foundation for the day. Other ones I love for long lasting are NARS Sheer Glow Foundation. It's beautiful, medium to full coverage, it's buildable, it doesn't look heavy on the skin. It's perfect when you just pat it in, it'll last. You do need to set it if you're a little bit shiny or oily on the skin, but it'll suit all skin types and all ages as well. The other one that is fab is, oh, I don't have that there. Do I have it there somewhere? I'll find it now. And this one is a BB cream actually. It's the YSL SPF 50 BB cream. Really nice coverage, not too full on, but it's fab in the summertime, and you've got SPF as well. It'll suit all skin types as well. The Chanel CC Cream SPF 50 in it, love this. It is a high coverage, so if you're someone who wants full coverage and a little bit of colour in the summer, this one is fab. I don't have it on my table here, but the IT Cosmetics CC Cream has an SPF 50 in it as well. It's brilliant, brilliant if you've got rosacea, any sort of skin irritation, acne, anything like that, that you want full coverage but without it looking heavy and you need your SPF. It's got anti-aging serums in it as well, which is amazing, because it means then that you can kind of just cut out skincare in the morning and go straight in with the CC cream if you want to keep things to a minimum. So there's some of the foundations that I use, but the reason I was showing them is that, you know, the different consistencies, people often think, well, I've got oily skin so I can't use that. I've got, you know, dry skin so I can't use that. It's not really the case. You should be able to use all foundations with all skin types. There are certain ones, obviously if you're really, really oily, I wouldn't use an illuminating foundation because it's going to make you look shinier. But you see these guys here, the Tom Ford Traceless foundation sticks. Like a lot of people who are dry wouldn't use that, but it's not drying on the skin. And as I always say, if your skincare is right, anything will suit. Anything will sit on it as long as the skincare is right. Once you have your skin in check, you can wear anything. So it's down really to the kind of coverage that you want, more so than the consistency of the foundation. Because once it's worked in properly, it will sit really well. Now, in saying that, if you have really mature skin and very crappy skin, something that has a 24-hour wear, I'd steer clear of. To be honest, I think after you've reached the age of 30, I'd steer away from anything that has a 24-hour wear anyway. Because one, why would you want that on your skin? And two, it is drying. Like, it's like a matte lipstick. It's going to dry onto the skin and it's going to go like cement. It'll wreck your makeup brushes over time as well. So we don't really want that either. But I would just go for ones that are going to enhance your skin, that you can pop on and that are going to make the most of it and will sit nicely on the skin for the day. So I think that's with that. When it comes to shades then, so finding your right shade, I will always spend time getting shades right. So like I said, okay, I'm in this a long time, so a lot of the time I can kind of figure out which ones are which and which ones will suit and which ones I know will suit my clients. But for yourself, when you go in, I would always suggest that you do a 3-day test. So what that means is you go into the shop and you get the person to colour match. You always colour match on the jawline. Do not let them go onto the back of your hand. It's not the same colour as your face, never will be, and it's never going to match. The two areas that'll work are either on the jawline here or just across your neck, because it's always the neck we're trying to blend into anyway. Because a lot of the time people wear tan and they'll be tan to here and then have a white face, or else if they don't wear a tan and they're super pale but they have high colouring on their face is going to be darker than their neck. So we're always trying to blend everything in. And like I've said before, I prefer not to have to wear foundation and makeup on the neck if I don't have to, because I don't like to see it on collars or scarves and things like that. So if your foundation matches into your neckline, well, then you're not going to need it. Like I don't have any on my neck or anything like that today. So always here. And so like you want to do 3 stripes. So let's say a light, a medium and a dark, just so you can see the one that disappears is the one that's right for you. And often people say to me, but I can't see it. And I'm like, well, that's the point, because we don't want to see it. We want to make it that it's going to give you that really gorgeous even coverage, but that it looks like your skin. And it is something when you're used to wearing foundation that is a little dark or a little warm for your skin, it's hard to get used to sometimes. It takes a couple of days, but once you are used to it, you're like, how did I wear that before? So you want it to disappear into the skin. So what you do is, I would always go in on the day you're trying to shop for foundations or whatever, go in, get a few different counters to test you, get samples from everyone. If they don't want to give you samples, go to Boots, get yourself a little sample pot, you know, like the little travel pots you can buy, go back in, ask them for a sample and wear it for 3 days. So I often say the day that you get it done, if you're shopping for makeup, it's probably not your average day. So you're probably not as busy or running around as much as you would on an average day. So it could look lovely that day and last, and it'd be great. The next day you pop it on and you are full on back into your normal day. So you're running around getting ready for work, getting kids ready, you know, you've got a full day out, you've got activities in the evening, and you've noticed even by lunchtime, hang on, this has not lasted on me. It's because your day is regular again and you're running around like a mad woman. So by day 3, if you're still wearing that foundation and you still like it, then you know you're onto something. You know you've made the right choice and you're like, Grant, I can go with that. And everything pretty much is available online now. So once you have the shade and the brand on your little sample pot, you can just go online and order it. I promise you that will save you a fortune. I have women coming to me who's had like 9, 10, 11 different foundations, often nearly all of them the wrong shade. But it's just because they've been clinging to hope that each time they go into the shop, they're going to get something, and they rarely ask for samples, but samples are there for you to use. And I think it's great to be able to go in and get them and try them out for a few days, because foundation is one of those things that it takes a while to get it right. And once you get it right, then it makes everything so much easier. So always do the 3-day test and always test it in daylight. The shop light is not going to be enough at all. And you do need to be a little bit more educated these days yourself in picking tones and shades and knowing about them going into the shops, because like I said, unfortunately training isn't like it used to be. So not everyone will know. Now I'm not saying that that's not a blanket statement either. There's a lot of great people working on counters, but I'm just saying that not everyone will know. But also what I do find a lot these days is that a lot of counters are selling a certain look. So if you want something more natural, you're going to have to sometimes take that into your own hands and go and, you know, try it out yourself before you buy it. But I think I'm going to leave that here. I'm going to cover concealer, I think, a little bit more in the next video, just because I feel like I've bombarded you with a lot of information. We're 24 minutes in and I haven't even shown you how to apply it yet. So I think I'll cover concealer, camouflage concealer in the next lesson, because I will be talking about I will be talking about under eye concealer when I'm applying it. So I'm going to explain that to you then. But if there's any questions on foundations or shades or anything, I'm sure there'll be loads on this one. Let me know in the comments below and I will cover them as well. I might even add an extra video in just to answer those questions and go through concealer before we move on to the colouring and shading of the face. So yeah, let me know, and hopefully you found this helpful. And now I'm going to move on to how to apply the foundation. Okay, so now that we know what type of foundation and shade that we're going to be wearing, now we have to apply it. So for applying foundation, for me, I always use a brush. I am not someone, as you know, who likes sponges, and I feel that you get a better payoff, you get a better coverage, and you get definitely longer out of your foundation when it's applied with a brush. And also the technique that you use really does make a difference. So I'm going with the Estee Lauder Double Wear in the shade Dawn today. So this is, I know, a medium to full coverage foundation. So if you're wearing a CC cream or a BB cream or MAC Face and Body, something with a water-based foundation that's super light, the application is going to be the exact same. So I'm taking a small bit out onto my brush. Always start small, because you can always build up. I always think that's one of the best things you can do, is just start slowly and bring it up as you need it, rather than going on with too much and then trying to blend it. And we're going to just tap it onto the face, all around our face, and then start to press it in. So rather than run around your face, swirling it everywhere, push it into your face. So like, this is called a buffer brush, and it's, if you can imagine, you're buffing it into the face. So you're really pushing it in. And I honestly 100,000,000% believe that this technique is the biggest game changer ever for foundation and how long it lasts, because it's really making it part of your skin. So it really gets it in there. If you just give it a quick run around, it's only giving it a superficial layer. It's never going to stay on. Whereas this way, even if it's a full coverage foundation like the Estee Lauder is, you're going to get it that it's going to look like your skin. It's going to look like it's become part of your skin, and you won't see where one part starts and one part finishes. So really, really push in. And then we're going to keep it away from around the eyes, because that area around the eyes is super thin and super delicate. And if we put the foundation there when it's a medium to full coverage like this, or even if it's a BB cream, it's another product, it's another layer. And remember, we're trying to keep that area as light as possible and only put our under eye concealer, because the consistency and the texture of an under eye concealer is totally different than what your foundation will be. So it won't sit into creases or cake into creases around the eye or any sort of fine lines. So we just want to keep that completely free so that we have minimal product on it. Okay, so you see the way that's just really evening out my skin tone and making everything, just giving me that blank screen to start with, like we talked about. Okay, I don't bring it onto the neck because like that, when we're shade matching, we're using this area, so it should melt away into your skin. If say you had a big night out on or an event or something like that, and you wanted, just everything to be really flawless for photos or something like that, then you could bring it down onto the chest, but otherwise you won't need to. You shouldn't need to anyway. Okay. And really push it in. So I spend about 30 seconds a minute doing this, because I want it to stay. I always think that if you're rushing in the morning, you're better off to get the base done and you can come back to the eyes later. Whereas if you don't have that done and you spend ages on the eyes, you can have these lovely eyes done, but then you'll have no makeup on your face by lunchtime. So then our under eye concealer. So when we're popping on the under eye concealer, I'm sure if you've watched any of my videos, you see how I've done it, and it is a little bit different than what other people do. So like we said, around this area, the skin around the eyes, it is much thinner and much more delicate than the rest of the face. And as we get older, it gets thinner and it gets drier. So we really don't want to layer products there. That's why I suppose I'm against you having to use primers first and then concealers and correctors and then foundations and powders. Like, it's too many layers if you're thinking you're putting that on top of eye creams and serums and all the other jazz that we're told to buy these days. So if you can just keep it as light as possible and only use what you need to use in this area, which is a really good high coverage concealer that's lightweight, that isn't going to sit and crease. You want the consistency of it just to be really smooth, the product that you're going to put around the eyes. If it's heavy or creamy or textury, then at some stage during the day, if you've got fine lines or dry skin in that area, it is going to sit and crease and cake, and it's not going to do you any good. You want something that's going to lift and brighten and just cancel out all that color. So I always use our Instant Under Eye Concealer in the shade Medium, because I generally do have a little bit of a color. I'm not very pale that often. When I have no tan on at all, and in the winter I probably wear light, but medium is for me what I always go with. And we're going to just draw a little inverted triangle here on the eye. So what I always say to people is, if you bring the V down in line with your pupil, but around the kind of nostril, the outer nostril area here, and then bring it back up onto the cheekbone, we're creating light in the center here. And we're going to stop just where the dark circle starts there. And then I'm going to put a little bit on my lid and on the inner corner. And the reason I'm not bringing any in there is because I want that area clear so that I can blend the product up there, rather than having a load of product here and then having to blend it away and then having way too much product sitting in underneath my lash line. Another area you can do with your under eye concealer, which is really good, if you find that you have really pronounced lines here, just pop a little bit on either side, because it's going to bounce the light away from there. And also it's always nice to give a little bit on the bridge of the nose. If you have small lips like me, you can put a little bit here. And also another area which is great, these are all like, you don't have to do these every day, these are kind of optional bits. I would always do the eyes, but these other bits is here. So So just above the brow in a little V. And the reason for that is as we get older, our faces tend to sit like this and we tend to look a little bit cross. So that just brings the area out and lightens it up. And then when you're blending it in, a nice fluffy brush, this is our concealer brush, and just tap it nice and gently in. So we're not rubbing and pulling at the skin underneath the eyes on a daily basis, because if you do that, you're going to damage the skin in the area. You're going to cause more fine lines. You're going to rub away all of your product. You're going to move your foundation once you're blending it in. You know, it's just not going to do any good. When you push it in, you're getting this perfect blend between foundation and concealer. But you're also, like with your foundation, you're buffing it in. You're going to make sure that it's sitting and it's set and it's not going to move from that area for the day. Which means when you do it like this, you use, I just promise you, so much less product. Like, look at the difference there already. No colour around the eyes anymore. And I suffer really bad with colour on my eyes. Like, they're always red and dark. So just push it in and blend it upwards. So I suppose the pressure on the brush, it is firm, but it's not hard. Do you know that kind of way, if that makes sense? I'm not been like punching myself in the face. I'm just making sure that I am buffing it into the area. So onto my nose, a bit of hair coming on my face. And then same here. So if you wanted to do more elaborate contouring and sculpting, you could do a lighter color here, but we'll cover that when we're doing sculpting and bronzing the next day. But for me, on a daily basis, I always want mine to look as natural as possible. So for me, this is perfect. You see the way now I've got no color around the eyes. It's completely clear. It's giving me my blank screen to start with now, and I can start to introduce some color and some shade into the face. And it looks natural. It looks like my own skin, but it looks like the best version possible of it. So in the next lesson, we will be covering sculpting. I'm not going to say contouring, sculpting, blush, setting your makeup, bronzer, all the warming parts, but we'll leave it at this for just the base. And I hope that you found the rest of the video helpful, and the info on how to pick shades and brands and the consistencies and what suits who. But again, like always, if there's any questions or you feel I have forgotten to include something, please do include it in the comments below, and I will definitely cover it in the next lesson. But for now, hopefully that was helpful and you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.